Hey there, everyone. Let us discuss the following question. The question in front of you is discuss Rostow's stage of growth and compare it with Lewis' economic development with unlimited supplies of labor. So first of all, let us try to understand what are these growth theory about, right? So both the Rostow's as well as the Lewis economics development growth theory is influential model, two different influential model that attempt to explain the process of economic development in developing countries, right? So here Rostow has explained the phases through which a country goes in order to develop from less developing low and less developing countries to developing to the developed nation. So there are 5 stages as per Rostow's theory, and Lewis explained it using the supply of unlimited labor by dividing the economy into two parts, that is a dual economy, in terms of the rural or the traditional society and the modern society, right? So this is the first distinction. Now let us first discuss about what are the 5 stages of the Rostow's theory of development. So in order to know that, so first one basically Rostow's. So the first stage is a traditional stage. Second stage is precondition to take off. Third one is the takeoff stage. Fourth one is drive to maturity. And the finally fifth one is the stage of high mass consumption. So what are these stages, right? Number one, when we talk about the first stage, that is a traditional stage of the Rostow's growth theory. So it talks about the agriculture and the rural area. The second one is as they move towards development, they shift from agriculture to manufacturing sector. So that is the preconditions to take off, that is the increase in manufacturing sector. Then from the precondition to take off is the next stage where the finally economy takes off, that is developing, right? That is more of the industrialization taking place. So that means there will be growth through industrialization. So first agriculture, then the economy moves from agriculture to manufacturing, and then from manufacturing to industrialization, heavy industrialization towards growth. Then once this industrialization process is done, now the economy moved to the time of drive to maturity, where people tend to work more and there is technological progress. As a result, there is more economic growth, and finally the stage reaches the final stage, that is the developed country, where consumerism increases, there is high mass consumption, where there people have income, employment, and they have demand. So as a result, there is high consumption and purchasing power. So that is the fifth stage. So according to Ross, this is how the economy moves from less developing to the developed countries. So that is the 5 stages, okay, from starting from traditional, that is the agriculture, to the precondition to take off, that is the manufacturing sector, to the takeoff stage where in heavy industrialization takes place, to the drive to maturity stage where there is technological progress and more capital accumulation taking place, and finally the final stage where the economy is at its peak with high mass consumption, right? So Rostow's stage theory of growth and Lewis economic growth with unlimited supply of labor are two influential models that attempt to explain the process of economic development in developing countries. Now, so these are the stages. The takeoff stage is characterized by rapid growth in manufacturing and trade. So the drive to maturity stage involves a shift to more complex industries such as chemicals and electronics. Finally, in the high mass consumption stage, the consumption patterns shifts from the durable goods shifts to more of the durable goods and services. So as a result, the service sector also develops in these type of final stage of the growth, right? Whereas if we talk about the Lewis model, so Lewis actually divided the economy, a less developing country, into two economies, that is a dual economy, the urban one where there are jobs, where there is high wage rate, and the rural sector where it is traditional, backward, no capital use, only labor and surplus labor. And in order to grow the economy, uh, the urban sector will draw the labor from the agricultural sector where there is surplus labor, where they are disguisedly unemployed, and Lewis named it as the reserved army of disguised unemployed, right? So their army from which the urban sector is going to draw the labors and use labor and capital in order to produce output, generate profit, invest more. As a result, the economy will face, as we say, economic growth. So this was what Lewis tried to say. So on the other hand, the Lewis economic development with unlimited supply of labor model argues that developing countries can achieve rapid economic growth by mobilizing the surplus labor from agricultural sector to the industrial sector, that is the urban sector. So according to Lewis, as the industrial sector absorbs surplus labor, wages in the agricultural sector rise, leading to increase in productivity and higher living standards. So this process is known as the Lewis turning point, right? Now, so if we try to explain both the models, so with both the models here, basically they attempt to explain the process of economic development as in the developing countries that differ in several keys. First, what is the first difference here? Number one, see. So firstly, Rostow's model emphasizes role of technology and institution in promoting economic growth, while Lewis' model focuses on availability of surplus labor. Secondly, Rostow's model assumes that economic growth occurs in a linear fashion, with countries progressing through a series of stages in predetermined order. As we have saw, right? There are stages. They go through, there are transitions from one stage to other. Agriculture to manufacture, traditional to precondition to take off, then to take off. So there are stages. Whereas according to Lewis, the growth is basically rapid and simultaneous. Just you have to draw the surplus labor and there will be growth, right? So mobilization of surplus labor, and no such stages are there in Lewis theory. So in contrast, Lewis model emphasized the potential for rapid non-linear growth through the mobilization of surplus labor. Finally, if we say, then Rostow's model assumes that growth is driven by increasing consumption and demand, right? So in every stage there is increase in the consumption and demand. As a result, there is more growth and the economy moves from one stage to another. There is transition. While Lewis model emphasizes the role of investment and capital accumulation in driving growth. So if we conclude, both the Rostow stage theory and Lewis economic development provide insights into the process of economic development in developing countries. While they differ in their underlying assumption and focus, both model highlights the importance of mobilizing resource and investing in new industries to promote the economic growth. So that's all for our answer.